Hello everyone, today is 19th of June, now it's 20 to 9 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Lebanon and this is my first update for the day, in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. Although before I start, let me make a few announcements about this small media project of mine. First of all, I will no longer divide main updates. When one part is published on YouTube and Rumble and the second part on my Patreon and Boosty pages, I listen to feedback, and well, many people are not happy with the current programming. They want full update. And because that was a compromise on my part, that decision to divide the channels, because on the other hand, some of the members of our community were complaining that updates are too long. Well, I guess you cannot please everybody. There will be always people that will criticize you for one thing or another, and therefore, after all, it is much easier to pause video and come back to it whenever time is available, than to divide video, and as a result of which a significant part of it is only available for a very small group of people that are subscribed to my Patreon and Boosty, and therefore, because main task for any news update, any channel in this segment of news under political commentary is to reach wider audience and be as informative as possible. It will only make sense if I will publish full updates in the morning time, in the mornings by Moscow time, and maybe headlines later on, with a preview of some topics that I will discuss in the next update, or maybe with some extra content. I don't know. It depends what is going on. So yes, that's the first announcement. I will no longer divide programs, this main news update. Also, by the way, as you know, I was publishing on Boosty my reaction videos, but yesterday I published reaction videos on my Patreon page also, so that extra content will be available on both platforms, on Boosty and Patreon. So what else, man? And yes, today is Wednesday, so I will have a live stream 9 o'clock this evening Moscow time, and we can discuss all of this and much more. We can have a good community chat during that live stream. I hope you will find time to join the conversation. So today evening 9 o'clock on my main YouTube channel live stream. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and this update probably will be quite long, because I mean, just look at this, man, plenty of news that I want to report about, and therefore I will definitely skip map of the special military operation. Military channels are providing great volume of information on that anyways. And first news from RIA Novosti, that Russian president arrived in North Korea yesterday late evening. Reports came in about arrival of Russian leader into Pyongyang. Of course, he was greeted very generously by North Korean leadership. I shared on my Telegram a few minutes ago these videos from today. It's like a big celebration in North Korea, because after all, not every day world leaders are visiting Pyongyang. And what surprised me is that just look at this. policeman. I'm kind of surprised that Russian Secret Service that protects president allow open car to be used. This is quite risky move. We all remember what happened to JFK, isn't it? But well, I guess security forces make sure that this trip is safe. Anyways, by the way, this is a state visit. There are huge delegations with the Russian president, of their officials, top officials, including defense minister, and also, of course, representatives of Russian businesses. And I'm quite sure there will be very significant agreements reached between Moscow and Pyongyang. And one of those agreements probably will be treaty on strategic partnership between the two countries. And well, South Korea, Seoul is not happy about these developments, and they complained to China and expressed their concerns about increased cooperation between Russia and North Korea. And well, Seoul can be, concerned, but after all, it was Seoul, isn't it, that decided to enter this club of Russophobes and anti-Russian elements. Russia didn't force South Korea to take her anti-Russian stance, to join anti-Russian coalition led by Biden's administration in US. South Korean leadership made that decision, and they should be ready for possible consequences now. And we have Chinese reaction on this increased cooperation between Russia and North Korea. And well, Beijing sees this cooperation as very rational and in the interests of the both countries that are under immense pressure from the collective West. And this was published in the Global Times, which is, one may say, is media wing of their Chinese foreign ministries. So we can assume that this is official position of the Beijing. And in any ways, of course, due to close ties between Beijing and Pyongyang, I'm quite sure Russian side well informed ahead Chinese colleagues about this upcoming visit, and maybe even information was shared with Chinese colleagues about possible agreements between the sides. One should keep in mind that Russian state and Russian businesses are no longer care about Western sanctions for cooperation with North Korea, while China is a little different position. China is acting cautiously and trying to gain some time, because of course Beijing knows perfectly well that they are main target of the Western ruling class, and therefore Chinese companies are not that free to enter North Korea to do business there, while Russian companies probably don't really care what might happen. They will be turned off from SWIFT. They already are turned off from the SWIFT. There will be sanctions on Russian companies. That almost all Russian companies are under sanctions. So there is very little that Western ruling class can do against Russia at this point, really, in terms of sanctions. So if North Korea is ready to open its economy for Russia, then I believe, and I spoke about it in previous updates, I believe billions and billions of dollars in Russian investment will flood North Korea and give it a free 5-10 years, and country will change dramatically in a better way. And cooperations, maybe not just in terms of economical and financial cooperation, but also in terms of military, of course. So, and that's why I guess new Russian defense minister is in delegation with Russian president. Anyways, by the way, let's continue. And the TASS news agency is reporting that current Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, also reacted on this visit of Russian president into North Korea and said that in response, NATO will increase its cooperation with Japan and South Korea. Okay. Okay, who cares, really? Although Japan and South Korea should not complain then about anything, because once again they choose to be part of anti-Russian Russophobic coalition, and they should be ready for whatever is to come. RIA Novosti's report that according to deputy of the Russian foreign minister Sergei Ryabkov, Russia may do some changes in nuclear doctrine, and some work on this topic is already underway. And this is a Russian response on increased threats from NATO. Understandable move. After all, for a reason, topic is circulating in Russia, opinion is circulating in certain groups here in Russia, certain parts of society, that if Moscow will not, due to constant escalation from the collective West and due to absence on part of the West to listen to Russian warnings, signals, messages, due to absence of this understanding from the West that Russia is serious in these warnings, Moscow is already in a situation when it has to deploy some extreme force. I spoke about such possibilities for a very long time, that at some point Moscow will find itself in such situation, and many people here in Russia think that Russia is already in that situation. I think so too, and opinion is that if Moscow will not deploy some extreme force, possibly tactical nukes now, it will be forced to deploy strategical nukes later. And we all know the difference, isn't it? Tactical nukes is ограниченный, how you say it. Just a sec, dear friends. Limited. Tactical nukes are limited escalation, even though escalation itself is in extreme terms, on extreme level, but still limited, because if strategical nukes are deployed, then humanity is over. Humanity that we know it is over. And the argument is that by deploying this extreme force, tactical nukes, Russia may avoid further escalation with the collective West, with the US, which may eventually resolve into full-scale nuclear exchange. So by deploying tactical nukes, Russia may actually save more people. Russia may actually save humanity from possible disaster that will happen if escalation continues and strategical nukes will be deployed by sides. So I can understand this move from Russian side, that some changes are planned into nuclear doctrine. Although, by the way, if you ask me, I guess Russia is already in the situation when tactical nukes can be deployed, and it will be in accordance to current nuclear doctrine, because after all, nuclear doctrine says very directly that if strategical infrastructure of Russia is targeted, then nuclear force can be used. And just recently, as we know, CIA, Washington basically authorized strikes on Russia's over-the-horizon detection radars, which is early warning system and a crucial part of Russia's nuclear deterrence. So Russia's strategical defense systems already been attacked by enemies, and Russia has every right to retaliate with whatever force it finds necessary. But still, I guess Moscow wants further clarification in nuclear doctrine, and this will happen in a relatively short time. If you ask me personally, I'm almost convinced that at this point it is inevitable that Russia will deploy tactical nukes. When, how many warheads, what exactly will be areas that Russia will target with tactical nukes, that's hard to know, of course. I don't have a clearance to top secret information, isn't it? But by reading big picture, it seems to me inevitable that this is going to happen, or at least deployment of tactical nukes is in conversation among for Russian leadership. Let's continue anyway, and RT is reporting that NATO country tests bomb shelters in its capital. So Warsaw has run an exercises to test the reliability of emergency water and power supplies in the city's shelters. The mayor of the Polish capital has said, fresh from the LGBTQ parade over the weekend, Rafał Trzaskowski ordered a snap drill of the city's emergency services on Monday, just in case. As a part of the Warsaw safety program, we are checking critical infrastructure. Yesterday, all city services held the training exercises at the water supply plants so that we are ready. Trzaskowski told reporters on Tuesday, we are prepared, water supplies, preparing warehouses in order to store additional equipment such as generators. We must be prepared for any kind of situation, he added. So, okay, smart move, I will say, on part of Warsaw, because if you take in account extreme policies of the Polish leadership and rumors that NATO may use Polish and Romanian airfields to conduct strikes with the formerly Ukrainian F-16s on Russian positions on a zone of special military operation. Of course, both these countries, Poland and Romania, should be ready that Russia will retaliate if planes will take off from their territories to attack Russia. And, well, I just spoke about deployment of the tactical nukes. That seems to me inevitable from Russian side. And one of the logical targets for tactical nukes are definitely big airfields. Big airfields, warehouses, industrial areas, basically also logistical hubs, big logistical hubs. And both countries, Poland and Romania, as we know, are used by NATO as a major logistical centers to transfer weapons to Ukraine to prolong this proxy war against Russia. So yes, smart move on part of mayor of Warsaw. I don't think Warsaw might be among potential targets for Russian tactical nukes. I don't think so, but some of the Polish airfields from which planes might take off to target Russia definitely are in the conversation, in my opinion. And some logistical hubs. TASS news agencies report that head of US mission in UN commented on this so-called Swiss peace conference, and she said that this was not a peace conference. She said that this was not a peace conference, by the way. I'm going to translate this to be precise. I'm going to translate this, and surprisingly, probably for some, US diplomat was quite open about it, you know. So the conference on Ukraine that took place in Burgenstock Switzerland was not a peace negotiations. A peaceful resolution to the conflict requires Russia to be at the negotiation tables. This was stated by the US permanent representative to the UN, Linda Thomas Greenfield. It is important, and then quote, by the way, it is important to note what this summit was not, namely formal peace negotiations. In their end, a peaceful settlement will require both Ukraine and Russia at the table, she said at the UN Security Council meeting on Ukraine. So, by the way, this was, as I said, clown show, by the way. This was a clown show. That has nothing to do with the peace in Ukraine. This was definitely not a peace talks or peace conference. And the US representative in UN confirmed what I was saying for weeks now about that conference. Thus, news agencies report that former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, stated that the Kiev regime still has an opportunity to take an offer from Russian president about peace on Ukraine. Very generous offer, generous proposal to end hostility. Otherwise, according to Medvedev, Russia will continue its offensive operations, and it will, and hard to tell when this sanitary zone or buffer zone will end, where a border of that buffer zone will be. So in any case, the situation will develop in the worst possible way for the Kiev regime. Understandable statement, but yet again, we already know perfectly well that all these warnings from Russia, all these signals, messages are not working. I can understand that that's diplomacy. I mean, Russia is using all possible means to deal with the situation through diplomatic means, to basically call for a sense, to call the Western ruling class to come to the senses, but it will not work. Until Russia will start deploying some extreme force, nothing will work on them, because force only language that Western ruling class understands, and their puppets also, including in the Kiev regime, by the way. Thus, news agencies report that, well, according to media outlets, for example, radio NOS in Netherlands, decision already been made in the West to appoint Mark Rutte, acting Prime Minister of Netherlands, as a next General Secretary of the NATO. Okay, this was expected. There was rumors that Mark Rutte is one of the candidates that are discussed among decision makers in the West to be appointed on the position of Secretary General of the NATO and to replace Jens Stoltenberg. And there seems like it is going to be the case. Jens Stoltenberg himself, current head of NATO, commented on this information and said that praised basically Mark Rutte as a good candidate, and of course he would. One brainless individual will be replaced by another brainless individual that is empty of, that has no principles, values, nothing that good humans have, and therefore, of course, no matter what is the name of the Secretary General of the NATO, nothing in practical terms will change, obviously. RT's report that Ukraine is about to get some German Frankenstein tanks. German arms manufacturer Rheinmetall could soon supply Ukraine with the new mobile air defense systems capable of shooting down Russian drones and missiles, according to the company's head of the land systems, Björn Berhard. In an interview with the German tabloid Bild, released on Sunday, Berhard signaled that the system, which the German media dubbed Frankenstein tanks, are already in the works. According to report, their tank would be a heavily armored version of the Rheinmetall's advanced Sky Ranger anti-aircraft system, grafted into hulls of the Cold War era Leopard 1 tanks. They will reportedly be capable of dealing with the short-range targets such as drones and artillery fire. Okay. Ukraine is of course a testing ground for all sorts of weapons, and unfortunately, but that's what Ukrainian society bring on themselves by supporting God knows whom since 2014. And allowing Ukraine to become US controlled territory. But well, it is what it is. Just recently I read the article that a new type of HIMARS, modernized version of HIMARS MLRS was developed, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if that new HIMARS will also undergo some testing into Ukraine, and many weapon systems already been tested in Ukraine. I'm quite sure about it, and once this conflict will end, probably we will learn quite a lot about it. Thus, news agencies report that head of Foreign Ministry of Italy, Antonio Tajani, confirmed information that Rome is planning to transfer to Kiev regime Stamp T air defense system, which is somewhat similar to Iris-T or Patriot. RIA Novosti is a report that although some may argue that Patriots are much more advanced, okay. RIA Novosti's report that according to Fatto Quotidiano media outlet in Italy, government Italy's government is plans to transfer to Kiev regime not just air defense systems but also Storm Shadow long-range cruise missiles. Well, that's a big step, if true, by the way. Of course, that's a big step towards escalation from Italy, but not really surprising. Not really surprising, unfortunately. Vzglyad newspapers report that France made up its mind. The French leadership made up its mind about transfer of 26 Mirage 2000-5s to Kiev regime that was announced earlier. And now, according to media reports, Paris is considering to transfer only 6 Mirage 2000s to Kiev regime. Okay, I don't think any of the Mirage planes will arrive into Ukraine anytime soon or ever, but I guess French leadership, not just political but also military leadership, has nothing to worry about or to talk about no more, and that's why they are speculating with this topic of deployment of Mirage fighters, because well, after all, at this point there is a consensus in this world that it is impossible to train person to become a professional pilot on any of the jets, including F-16 and Mirage, in just a 3, 6 or 12 months time. So therefore, if France will make its final decision to transfer these Mirage planes, to deploy Mirage planes into the battlefield, of course they will be forced to act on this matter, to play some theater, some drama. They have to invite some Ukrainians and disguise them as a potential and future pilots and that kind of stuff. Some dramaturgy is necessary there, and this show has to go on at least 6 months, at least 6 to 9 months, maybe longer, to create illusion that EU regime has pilots to operate with the Mirage fighters, like other Western countries did with F-16s. This show about some people from Ukraine being trained as pilots of the F-16s in Romania, in Denmark, in some other countries. This show continues for how many months now? And still no one believes that Kyiv regime has even a single pilot that can operate with F-16s. So, of course, France will be forced to conduct the very same show. And, well, who knows how situation will develop on the battlefield in the next 3, 6, 9 or 12 months. And if there will be any Kyiv regime left, to whom formally those planes are planned to transfer. So, I mean, clown show, really clown show, and nothing else. RIA Novosti's report that intelligence community of Germany is warning now that Ukraine become a hub for the terrorists and the transit point, major transit point for the sorts of extremists and the terrorists to enter Europe, including Germany. And well, what a surprise! What a surprise! I wonder when German security community or intelligence community or their colleagues in other NATO member states will start openly talking about flooding of the Europe with their weapons from Ukraine, because that's also happening. That's also happening, by the way, and our members of our community from Europe can share with us information how significantly gun violence increased in European states. Increase is significant, by the way. Significant. RIA Novosti's report that there was explosions in Lvov region early hours today. No detailed information what exactly was targeted, but we can assume that possibly some energo facilities or points of concentration of Kyiv regime forces, NATO officers, NATO troops disguised as mercenaries, and some logistical infrastructure possibly. If any additional information during the day, of course, I will share this information on my Telegram channel. Also, we have information that in Rostov region, fire was localized just this morning, about 6 o'clock this morning, after almost 24 hours since this fire erupted on an oil depot in Rostov region as a result of strike from Ukraine with the drones. This happened in oil depot in Azov area of the Rostov region, and at some point fire was on more than 3,000 square meters, so it was significant issue, emergency, and well, unfortunately, in this particular case, Kyiv regime was able to successfully strike on Russian energy facility. Okay, there will be retaliations, no doubts about that. I don't know how many oil depots Kyiv regime has left, how many energo facilities in general, but with the exception of nuclear power plants, all of them will be destroyed. I have no doubts about it. With the exception of nuclear power plants and also energo plants that are providing those nuclear power plants with electricity. Because Russia will, of course, never jeopardize nuclear safety of the Ukrainian nuclear power stations. RIA Novosti's report that, well, only a few days after this so-called peace conference in Ukraine has ended, the Swiss parliament, Swiss MPs come up with initiative to allow re-export of their Swiss weapons to Ukraine. Okay, man, and this country pretends to be a neutral state when even talk should be prohibited about such topics, that Swiss weapons to be re-exported to some conflict zone. Any conflict zone, by the way, because That's what neutrality requires from the country. But of course, Switzerland is not a neutral state, by the way. Switzerland is a full-fledged member of the anti-Russian Russophobic coalition, and therefore I'm not at all surprised, not at all. And one more topic, by the way, Swiss weapons and weapons with the Swiss elements in it already been transferred to Kiev regime. So maybe Swiss MPs want to formalize what is already happening. I guess that's exactly the case. And also, by the way, another so-called neutral state in Europe, Austria, is stating now that crossing Moscow's red lines are permissible. Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer does not perceive the decision by NATO nations to allow Kiev to use their weapons against Russia outside of what they consider Ukrainian territory as a cause of concern. Well, of course, nothing concerns these puppets of the Western ruling class that are put in power just because they will agree with every order they will receive, and they will sign up every paper that Western ruling class will lay down on their tables. Then that's exactly what is happening all across the Europe. Just damn puppets, man, everywhere. I mean, can you tell me single really independent politician, with exception of let's say Hungary and Slovakia, although by the way both countries are under heavy pressure, and usually both countries are agreeing whatever Western ruling class is demanding, although they are at least trying to, you know, give some fight, but they clearly are not in the position to succeed in it. And when it comes to other countries, they are not even trying. And these so-called neutral states are the worst, because they're supposed to be neutral, by the way. Neutral. They should never take side of any. They should never take any side anywhere on this planet. That's what neutrality requires. But no, man. Switzerland, Austria, they are openly basically demonstrating that they are no longer neutral states. They are part of this Russophobic anti-Russian coalition. Okay, we knew it, and we know it for quite longer, I guess. If anyone had any questions about it, then they will receive all the answers, and will have no doubts now that there is no neutral states in Europe. RT is reporting that Blinken made secret weapons promise to Israel. Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has claimed to have pressured the United States over arms supplies that his country needs in its war with the Palestinian militant group Hamas. The US paused delivery of the weapons to Israel in early May, aimed calls for it to scale back its assault on the densely populated city of Rafah in southern Gaza. The shipments reportedly included 3,500 bombs for fighter jets. The Jewish state's offensive on Rafah has left thousands of Palestinians dead and injured, according to local Hamas-run authorities. In a video post on X, formerly Twitter, on Tuesday, Netanyahu said in English that US Secretary of the State Blinken has assured him the White House is working day and night to remove these bottlenecks, referring to the arms supplies. The statement confirms the latest media reports that during the meeting with Blinken last week in Jerusalem, Netanyahu had demanded the removal of the barriers to their flow of munition. Well, am I surprised, or anybody is surprised with this news? Of course not. And more than that, I'm not really sure that these bombs really have not been delivered yet to Israel. Maybe they are just playing here, just to, fool world community that US is US leadership, Biden's administration has some principles, and they demanded from Netanyahu something, and they paused deliveries of the weapons. I don't believe in this, even for a second, man. US run by Israeli lobby. Israeli lobby has immense influence in US. I don't think anybody can argue with that, and therefore Biden's administration definitely is not in position to do anything that Netanyahu personally or his backers, whoever those powerful groups are, don't like. So probably this is all some attempt to fool world community, man. RIA Novosti is a report that Israeli army, you know what, I'm gonna translate this news because this is a big deal, because Israel may start another war. So Israel Defense Forces, IDF, has approved combat plans for an offensive in Lebanon. This was reported on Telegram channel of the IDF itself, by the way. So plans for military offensive operation in Lebanon were approved, and decisions were made to continue to improve the combat readiness of troops on the ground, statement said. So you tell me what is going on in Lebanon, by the way, between Lebanon and Israel, and what is wrong with Netanyahu's government, because I don't think IDF is in a position to wage a full-scale war against Lebanese Hezbollah. This will be suicide for Israel. This will be suicide for Israel if they will start a full-scale war against Lebanon. But there is by the way, there is catch there. I would not be surprised if there is an agreement between Netanyahu's government and the NATO member states that Netanyahu will provoke war with Lebanon, and then NATO countries will intervene, will get engaged, and they will also wage war against Hezbollah. Maybe that's what is going on here, because IDF alone are definitely not in position to defeat Hezbollah. They are struggling with Hamas, by the way. And Hezbollah is incomparably more capable organization that Hamas ever was or ever will be. So maybe world is about to enter another war in the Middle East, and if that's what is about to happen, then it is also possible that this conflict between Israel and Lebanon will not be contained just in that region and just between two countries, and eventually Iran will be attacked or something will happen and a regional war will erupt. Because, as I said many times before, by the way, I'm quite sure Western ruling class desperately wants to distract shipping in the Persian Gulf, and to do so, if we take a look at the map, by the way, so this is Persian Gulf, of course, and look at the countries that are here, by the way. It's Iran, of course, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. Major countries, by the way, when it comes to energy exports, oil exports, gas exports, and vast majority of that volume of exported energy sources from this region goes through this strait here, Hormuz Strait. And of course, if regional war erupts, if Iran is attacked and Iran is engaged in a conflict, this Hormuz Strait will be closed and navigation in the Persian Gulf will become impossible. And who is the main buyer on their energy from the Middle East right now? China, by the way. China is the main buyer of their oil and gas from the Middle East. So that's why I'm saying that in my reading of the big picture, Western ruling class is, desperately wants to provoke regional war, and then with Iran's involvement, and then to disrupt shipping in the Persian Gulf and through the Hormuz Strait, China to be targeted, so that Chinese economy will receive a huge hit in terms of energy supplies, because only reliable strategical route of energy supplies to China will be Russia after that. But still, by the way, Russia cannot compensate for the volume of the gas and the oil, especially oil, that China will lose if Persian Gulf is shut down. And Chinese economy will enter significant, Chinese economy will experience extremely significant pressure. So that's what is going on, by the way. That's why am I afraid that in their pursuit of destroying China, Western ruling class may provoke regional war, and maybe there is an agreement between Israel and the Israeli government and the Western ruling class to provoke on this stage a full-scale war with the Lebanon, and then with Iran to shut down shipping in the Persian Gulf. Who knows? And by the way, I cannot remember exact numbers now, but there is at least 10 to 12, at least, by the way, and correct me if I'm wrong, at least 10 to 12 million barrels of oil are passing through the Hormuz Strait on daily basis. That's quite a volume, isn't it? At least 10 to 12 million barrels of oil every single day. And main buyer is China. Anyways, let's continue where I was. Yes, I was here. So yes, IDF already has approved plans to conduct offensive on Lebanon to start military operation. Let's see if order will be given to do so. And also, by the way, RT's report about very important topic that Israeli military knew Hamas was planning to attack, according to Israeli media reports. So the Israel Defense Force, IDF, warned in mid-September that Hamas was planning to invade the country and capture more than 200 hostages. Israel's Khan broadcaster reported on Monday. 3 weeks before Hamas fighters attacked Israel on October 7, the IDF's intelligence directorate compiled a report stating that the Palestinian militants were training for the large-scale invasion of the Jewish state. Khan has claimed this media outlet. Citing anonymous security sources, the document allegedly warned that dozens of Hamas commandos would take part in the raid, which would be aimed to bringing between 200 and 250 hostages back to Gaza. Several thousand Hamas fighters carried out the actual October 7 assault, killing around 1,200 people and taking roughly 250 hostages back to Gaza. Of course, we have to keep in mind that several hundred of the Israelis that were killed during this Hamas incursion were militaries. And there also, by the way, Israeli army itself opened fire on its own citizens in certain cases. This is documented, by the way. This is nothing controversial in this information. This is documented, and many independent media outlets reported about it. Although, of course, it is also factual that Hamas fighters, certain groups of Hamas fighters, conducted crimes, war crimes and crimes against humanity by killing innocent civilians, which is also documented. According to Khan's sources, Hamas members had been spotted practicing attacks on the mock IDF outposts, rehearsing how to capture military and civilian hostages, and training how to handle their captives once they were detained in Gaza. The document reportedly made its way to the senior officials in the IDF's Gaza division, but was completely ignored, Khan stated. Media outlet is not the first source to claim that Israel was forewarned about the October 7 attack. Within the days of the assault, Egyptian intelligence officials said that they had repeatedly warned the Israeli government that Hamas was planning something big in the days leading up to October 7, but these warnings were ignored in the West Jerusalem. And by the way, this is immensely important revelations from Israeli media outlet, because from the very beginning there was questions, isn't it, that how it even was possible that this borderline between Gaza Strip and Israel was not as secure as it's supposed to be and as it was earlier, which allow Hamas fighters to conduct quite successfully incursion into Israel almost without being challenged by IDF. How that was even possible, and how come that one of the top intelligence services in the world, Mossad, and other intelligence services in Israel had no idea what is about to happen. Many people find it hard to believe. And now we have more and more indicators that, Israeli leadership knew about, had reports and knew about preparations from the Hamas to conduct some big operation against Israel. And, maybe, by the way, and this is a speculation, of course, but maybe Netanyahu's government and the Israeli secret services made decision to allow Hamas to conduct this incursion into Israel and then use this attack as a justification for what is about to happen to Gaza Strip. To use this attack on Israel as a justification to conduct a genocidal offensive on the Gaza Strip and ethnic cleansing, and eventually force locals out of the region into Sinai of Egypt, and step by step integrated this land of this strip of land into Israel. Maybe that was the plan from the very beginning of the Netanyahu's government and his secret services, because there's too many indicators that they knew what was planned. They had the information, and probably we know just a little about the level of information that Netanyahu's government had, because once again it is hardly possible that Israeli secret services did not have their assets in the Gaza Strip and did not know what was planned by Hamas. I mean, let's be real here. So maybe Netanyahu's government and his associates, they sacrifice Israeli citizens, allowing Hamas to conduct this attack on Israel, so that then they will conduct this genocidal offensive on Gaza and the ethnic cleansing, and will basically force all the locals out and claim the territory. Maybe that was the plan from the very beginning. Who knows? And if that's the case, then I would not be surprised at all if they have plans about West Bank also, which is occupied, by the way, and almost the half of the territory. On half of the West Bank now there is Israeli settlements, illegal according to UN, but still it's factual that illegal or not, but there are settlements there. So it's not just occupied, but land is taken from Palestinians. And there are kibbutzes all over the West Bank that local Palestinians cannot even enter. On their own land, by the way. They're living on their own. This is Palestinians that are living in the Palestine, and there are areas that they cannot enter. So who knows, maybe Netanyahu's government has some similar plans for West Bank also, to eventually force Palestinians out of West Bank into the Jordan or maybe into the Syria. Who knows? Who knows, man? Netanyahu and his associates, they already proved that they are genocidal mass murderers, and they're capable of anything, any atrocities. They already proved that. So, well, very important news, obviously, and well, I wonder how Israeli society will react on this news. Let's continue, and RIA Novosti's report that yet another commercial vessel was sunk into not far away from the Yemeni coast after being targeted by Yemeni Ansar Allah movement or Houthi rebels for violating embargo that Houthi rebels impose on Israel. They are targeting all the ships that they find connected with Israel or Israeli allies in this regional war there. And there are quite a number of ships, quite a number of vessels already were sunk and targeted by Houthi rebels. And well, we have report about another one. Also, by the way, report here from RT that confused Biden clips are deepfakes, according to White House. Okay, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre has claimed that recent videos showing US President Joe Biden looking confused at the public events have been manipulated, describing them as cheap fakes. Cheap fakes, deep fakes. Okay, man. How you gonna comment this? How you gonna comment this? Biden, more often than not, looks like confused, like he don't really understands what the hell is going on, where he is, who those people are around him, and who he is himself. So how all these videos can be deep fake? How? And by saying this nonsense, Karine Jean-Pierre thinks that people will believe her, or what's going on here really? Why they are making mockery from themselves? Really? Anyways, man, also report here that naval vessels collide in a disputed South China Sea. So Chinese Coast Guard vessel and the Philippine Navy boat collided in the South China Sea on Monday, an incident of which their two sides provided different accounts. The collision occurred when their Philippine naval vessel attempted to resupply run to their BRP Sierra Madre, an old tank landing vessel grounded on their second Thomas Sowell, a small submerged reef near the Spratly Islands. The ship, originally built for the US Navy during the World War II, was deliberately run aground in the area in 1999 and has served as an outpost for the Philippine military ever since. Philippine Navy personnel sustained a severe injury after their CCG's Chinese Coast Guard's international high-speed ramming during their rotation and resupply mission to the BRP Sierra Madre on June 17th, according to the statement by the country's military. The Chinese Coast Guard, however, claimed that the Filipino vessel had dangerously approached deliberately collided with its ship while attempting to resupply the illegally grounded warship. Following the collision, the Chinese vessels took control measures to check the supply boat and expel it from the area. Their handling of the incident was responsible, legal, professional, and standard, the Chinese Coast Guard stated. So, well, unfortunately, these tensions between China and Philippines are constantly rising. I guess due to involvement of some third parties. We don't have to guess which that third party is. US, of course, mainly. Washington, US ruling class, but well, question is why people of the Philippines need to be in conflicting situation with China while they can benefit significantly maintaining with China good relationships, working relationships. After all, they have to recognize that China is in one league and Filipinos are in another league, and they are superpowers in this world. We may find it unjust, we may like it or not, but that's objective reality on the ground. That there are countries that are superpowers and there are smaller countries that always supposed to be careful, especially in the relationships with the superpowers. And if they are jeopardizing in any way, shape or form security of the superpowers, if they've been used by third parties against these superpowers, well, usually they are getting smashed. Historically speaking, that's always the case for centuries. So I don't know if Philippines really need this hit, but this country and a number of other countries in the region, by the way, actively being used by Washington against China. And well, unfortunately, leadership of those countries seems like happy to be puppets of the Washington. I mean, I don't know why. And I don't get why locals, societies there are not protesting to and are not demanding the escalation with the China from their own governments. I don't know. RT's report here that France to downsize military presence in Africa. So France intends to reduce the number of its forces stationed in the West and Central Africa to around 600 troops in compliance with the President Emmanuel Macron's policy of limiting their country's military presence on the continent. AFP reported on Monday, citing sources. According to outlet, citing two government officials and a military source, all of whom requested anonymity, Paris will maintain only about 100 troops in the Central African state of Gabon, down from 350 currently stationed there, and around 300 personnel will stay in Chad, which is down from 1,000 that are present at this moment. In Côte d'Ivoire and Senegal, where there are contingents of 600 and 350 military personnel respectively, Paris reportedly plans to downsize its military presence, around 100 troops in each of the West African nations. President Macron announced a noticeable reduction of the France military presence in Africa early last year, aimed the wave of anti-French sentiment in several former colonies, particularly in the Sahel region, where its soldiers had been deployed to combat Islamic militants. France had over 5,000 troops in the Sahel region as a part of Operation Barkhane, a decade-long counter-insurgency mission that ended in late 2022 when Paris withdrew its army from Mali due to breakdown in relations following Bamako's May 2021 coup d'etat. Protests against the European country have grown in recent years, sparkling by alleged military shortcomings and accusations of interference in the internal affairs of the former colonies. So yes, France is losing its influence worldwide, not just in former colonies in Africa, but worldwide. And France has a number of colonies outside of Africa also. In South America, I believe, in Oceania. And all those territories should be decolonized, 100%. 100%. And will be decolonized. And hopefully Russia will help locals to get rid of French occupation. That will be nice. TASS news agencies report that US conducted a testing launch of the missile with the experimental or testing warhead, potentially nuclear warhead, MK21A. And if these testings are successful, these nuclear warheads in the future, MK21As, will be used in Sentinel intercontinental ballistic missiles that's supposed to replace current Minuteman III ICBMs that are in the arsenal of the US submarines, obviously. All these Minuteman IIIs, as far as I know, are sea launch missiles. And for 2031, Sentinel ICBMs probably will replace Minuteman III. Okay, understandable. Important development, by the way, that worth noticing, I guess. And how long is this update, man? It's already more than an hour, but not that many news, just like 10 about. Okay, RBK news agency is reporting that Armenia and France reach agreement on deliveries of Caesar long-range artillery systems from France to Armenia. Okay, this of course will further jeopardize relationships between Azerbaijan and France, and probably between Yerevan and Moscow also. But yet again, current leadership of Armenia is of course asset of the CIA, asset of the Western ruling class, and they are acting under orders that will benefit collective West, in this particular case, military-industrial complex of the France. Couple of tens of millions of dollars will be helpful for whoever produces those Caesars. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that US started imposing sanctions on the Georgian citizens that were in any way involved in adopting of the law about foreign agents that happened relatively recently. And US will impose restrictions, visa restrictions, and possibly some other sanctions, not just on the politicians of the ruling party of Georgia, but also on the public figures that were in active support of this decision, and also to members of their families, because that's what the US always does. They target innocent people, man, because that's the easiest way for them. US leadership always targets innocent people, by the way. Just I mean, if you have time, just analyze actions of the Washington. They always target innocent and most vulnerable. It's just historically accurate description of the actions of the US. Okay, let's see how Georgia will react, how Georgian leadership will react on that. RT is reporting that 5 parties to form a new South African government South Africa, the coalition will have 273 seats in the National Assembly and will be led by the African National Congress. Okay, important development because BRICS is South Africa is a BRICS member state, and of course, it is always interesting to know what is going on in the BRICS member states. Lenterus report that Zimbabwe stated about its readiness to join the BRICS. Interesting. Although I'm not quite sure that BRICS is ready to receive Zimbabwe yet. But cooperation probably will increase between the BRICS member states and Zimbabwe, which will benefit Zimbabwe greatly, Zimbabwe's economy, financial system, social fabric in general. And after some time, I guess Zimbabwe will become also BRICS member state. RTs report that EU plans to challenge US and China in trade. Well, delusionals, man, delusionals in Brussels bureaucracy. EU will try to challenge the US and China strategically in the bloc's competition chief has suggested. However, it may be no economic math for their either. Margaret Westger told CNBC on Tuesday that EU had become much better at defending itself against unfair trade practices and that it will continue looking for the ways to compete equitably with its economic partners. The point is to realize we can never outspend China or US, Westger said, pointing out we can spend strategically. She cited the 100 billion fund for the cutting-edge technologies, including hydrogen, electric batteries, microelectronics, cloud and health among the EU's strategic investments that she said have common European interests. That I think is a strategic way of using taxpayers' money, crowding in private capital in order to get what the market will not otherwise deliver. Vostager argued. Well, okay, these delusional elements, man, in EU's leadership, they're still not realizing that the only chance they had to maintain competitiveness on the world stage, to maintain relevance on geopolitical map was to have a close tie with Russia. Close ties with Russia. Without Russia, European Union is a loosely relevant outskirt of the Eurasian continent. That's what EU really is. And as time goes by the way, give it 10, 20, 30 years, and if it's not yet obvious for everybody, in 20, 30 years' time, no one will have doubts about it, that EU is a loosely relevant province of, or loosely relevant area or outskirts of the Eurasian continent. Only chance they had was to maintain strategic relationships with Russia, but they ruined this chance. I don't know why, because they are too stupid maybe, or all of them in the Western ruling, on European ruling elites are puppets of some shadow forces, maybe Washington and London. I don't know, but they clearly ruined their chance to maintain relevance on geopolitical map and on the global market. The Novosti's report that trade between Russia and EU dropped to the minimal level since the 2000. Unsurprisingly, absolutely unsurprisingly. So in April, by the way, trade between EU and Russia was just 5.6 billion euros, which is peanuts compared to previous previous years. At some point, for example, in 2012, for example, in 2012 there was a record trade between the countries in October, when trade reached 29.5 billion euros. But well, of course, after 2014, the sanction war began step by step, and after 2022, of course, we entered a whole different stage of the confrontation, and as a result, relationships between Russia and European economies deteriorating very fast, which is unfortunate for many reasons. Unfortunate for first of all, because I don't want countries to be in hostile positions. When I don't like when West is acting as a enemy of Russia, but I mean, no one cares about what I like or not, isn't it? It's just unfortunate, man. West world is big enough. West easily could maintain good working relationships with Russia, and West never supposed to provoke escalation with Russia in 2008, when they provoked conflict between Georgia and Russia, in 2014 when they start provoking conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Western ruling class should never expand NATO. They had a perfect opportunity to build a strategic partnership with Russia, but they ruined this chance, man. And we are where we are right now. RBK news agency is reporting that first country in the EU that will start working on the uranium deposits in Europe, on European soil, will be Finland. And we have information that Finnish company, I guess, Terrafame, that's the name of this company, will start work on one of the deposits of the uranium in Finland, and they plan to make some 200 tons of the uranium, which be enough to power all nuclear reactors that Finland has. Okay, now Finnish energy system is relied on Russian supplies on nuclear fuel. They want to get rid of this dependence on Russian Rosatom. Okay, it's their right. No issues there, really. If they want to work out their own ways of supplies to the nuclear reactors, okay. But well, I guess Finland will become a target for this decision of the all sort of ecological movements and extremists in this green field. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe if if Finnish government will say, you know what, we are doing this to get rid of dependence on Russia, and I mean Russia. If they will say Russia enough times, then maybe Greens will not attack Finnish government for allowing this work to take place on uranium deposits. RBK news agency is reporting that French company Leroy Merlin will continue work in Russia, although it will rebrand itself, and the new name of this company will be, in Russia by the way, will be Lebanon Pro. So before end of 2025, Leroy Merlin will be rebranded into Lebanon Pro. And okay, by the way, understandable decision. Earlier Leroy Merlin made decision to delegate operations to the local Russian management, and now rebranding is taking place. Although, by the way, this French company has no intentions, as far as I understand, to flee Russian market, because after all, Russian market is a main source of main income for this corporation that is Leroy Merlin is a part of. Leroy Merlin Russia is a part of, and well, interesting. Good news, by the way, because even though relationships between leadership of the country are not on the best level, to put it mildly, French leadership is constantly escalating with Russia. Me personally, I welcome any cooperation between the people, between the businesses, because more lines of communication, more contacts we will have, by the way, easier it will be to rebuild relationships once adequate people will take over in Europe, in North America, in collective West states. And I want to believe that at some point societies in the West will reclaim control over their own countries, and they will put some adequate people in charge. Let's hope so. And then, of course, relationships there will be possibility that relationships between Russia and the Western states will start improving. Artists report that world famous British, isn't it, singer Adele was harassed, by the way, on internet big time, on Instagram first of all, and you know why? And she was attacked and harassed by Russophobes, all sorts of Russophobes from Ukraine, not from Ukraine, from everywhere. All the Russophobes had a go on her, and you know why? Because this pop star were in an outfit from the Valentin Yudashkin fashion house. She were basically dressed from Russian designer, and that was enough reason to ruin her day, maybe several days, if she emotionally reacted on this assault on her from all sorts of idiots worldwide and extremists and Russophobes. But that's reality, objective reality in the collective West, by the way. You can be harassed, you might be harassed if you have dressed from some Russian designer. You may be harassed if you read some Russian classic, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, I don't know, man, Pushkin, and any. If you listen to Russian composers, you may be harassed for sure. If you like anything Russian, then you are in trouble, by the way, in the West. And unfortunately, I may exaggerating a little bit, but situation is really too bad, isn't it? That person can be harassed just because she is wearing dress that she likes, and who cares who is designer of that dress? As long as she is happy with it, then it's none of your business, for God's sake, isn't it? Just, let her be happy. What is wrong with those people, man? But no, they are sick individuals, man, that are hating. Today they hate Russians. Tomorrow they will start hating anybody, because if you are full of hate, you need to direct this hate. You are a bad person in general, and you have Russia as a target today, and you hate Russians, but tomorrow you will need some other target for your hate, because you are full of shit. And it is what it is. And those people, by the way, those sickening individuals that full of hate, they are first of all dangerous for their immediate people that are in their immediate vicinity, because at one point they may go wild and God knows what they will do. They are psychopaths, people that are harassing other people for this type of stuff. That you are wearing some dress from Russian designer, you are reading some Russian book or listening to some Russian music or speaking Russian. And there was many cases of that, isn't it? When Russian tourists were harassed in Europe just for speaking Russian. Well, Europe is close to fascism, by the way, I will say. Europe is very close to fascism. Maybe Europe is already fascist, man. I don't know. Because when entire nation is hated and it's okay for local elites, for local media, for local public figures, when there is no protest about this despicable stuff, then, well, that's a fascism, isn't it? Anyways, let me continue. Russian sporting team, by the way, is on the first place with 131 gold medals for this moment in the BRICS games. These days, BRICS games are taking place, of course, here in Russia. And Russian team is leading. Second is Belarus, and the third is China. And I'm quite sure nothing was said about this in the West, but these games are gaining more and more popularity worldwide, and at some point, who knows, maybe BRICS games will be viewed by much more people than this so-called Olympics that's supposed to take place in France this summer. I'm definitely not going to watch any of it. I'm not interested in this ideologized and politicized event. I just simply don't care. Like I don't care about Euro 2024. That is held right now, by the way. There's some football games in Europe. I don't care because FIFA and UEFA, they also are politicized and ideologized, and I have no respect for them because of it. But anyways, let's continue. And that's why I'm not alone. I'm quite sure many people has very same attitude, and therefore just give it another 5, 10 years, 15 years, and BRICS games most likely will become much bigger than any other sporting event that Western ruling class can come up with. And that at this point, I see FIFA, UEFA, and all that so-called Olympic Games and all that stuff tools in hands of Western ruling class. This is not really a sporting events, not for a world for sure. It's just a weapon in the hands of Western ruling class, and everybody should ignore, man. Everybody. Me personally, I don't care, man, about European football, about the so-called Olympics that Europe will hold. I wonder how many males gonna compete in these Olympics in females sporting events, and how many records they gonna break. Fucking sickening animals, man. RIA Novosti's report, I'm talking about Western ruling class, of course, and their puppets. RIA Novosti's report that scientists first time managed to detect awakening of the supermassive black hole. Of course, scientists knew that this might happen, and this is happening, but first time this process was observed when in galaxy SDSS 1335 plus 0728 in 2019 started getting brighter and brighter, and continues to become brighter until now. And according to data that scientists managed to collect since the 2009, allows them to say today now that this increased brightness of the galaxy is due to awakening of the supermassive black hole in center of this galaxy, which start consuming some matter around him. And as we all know, I mean, these supermassive black holes are in every galaxy, in center in central parts of the every galaxy. Our galaxy Milky Way also has a Sagittarius A supermassive black hole, which may also wake up at any time and start consuming matter around it. If, for example, some cloud will get too close to it and cross a event horizon, or if any star will get too close to it. And it's so energetic event that when supermassive black hole is consuming matter, if there is plenty of matter, then well, that event is so energetic that it emits more energy, more light than galaxy itself. And that's why this galaxy become this bright and continues to get more bright and brighter. And our Sagittarius A supermassive black hole, which is tiny compared to some other really supermassive black holes, our Sagittarius A may also start at some point, consuming matter and brightening our galaxy. That will be visible, I guess, for millions and millions and millions of light years away, when this light will reach those places, billions of lights away. Anyways, by the way, interesting, some scientific stuff towards the end of the update to calm overall this news update. Yes, this is it. I guess this is it. Quite a long update, plenty of news. Hopefully you will find it interesting and useful, informative, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, any topic, well, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life and on internet. That will help definitely to reach wide audience. And if you like my work, if you like this channel, I think it does deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary. Please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page and Boosty page also. Why not? Boosty is a unique platform that allows you to not just subscribe but also to donate. So it's useful tool for creators. All the links, by the way, under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care. And dear friends, before I go, today 9 o'clock this evening Moscow time, live stream on my YouTube channel, and well, if you find time, please join the conversation. It's always good fun. It's community chat first of all, so it's always nice to be engaged with the community in real life, in real time. Okay, this is it for now. Have a great day and take care.